Hey guys, my name is Nancy. Welcome back to Confessions of an Evolving Millennial, where we talk about growing, we talk about evolving, we talk about healing, we talk about navigating life with all its twists and turns, and sometimes we're just plain out trying to figure it out. We don't pretend to have it all figured out here, and so we take a day at a time, we take a step at a time. We're putting one foot in front of the other as we enjoy this adventure and this journey called life. And I just want to start by saying thank you for joining me yet again. And on today's video, I want to talk about one of my favorite topics on the planet as of right now, and that is the topic of freedom. I have been walking a journey of freedom for the last couple of years, and on today's video I want to explore freedom in general. And before we dive right in, I'd want to really know what freedom means to you. If you want to pause the video and just think about it, like take a minute and ask yourself, what does freedom mean to me? And I'd really love to hear in the comment section what you will come up with. But I'll start by saying that I actually went ahead and googled what the word freedom actually means so that I can get the dictionary meaning, and I'll read it out to you. This is what Google was saying, that the meaning of freedom is the power or right to think, speak, and act as one wants. Basically, a state of not being imprisoned or enslaved in any kind of way. And I think that that's a very good definition, because when I also think about freedom, I'm thinking about being able to think as you please, being able to speak as you please, and also being able to act as you please, or rather how you would want to, without necessarily being influenced by anything external. And of course, this is in a way that does not hurt anyone. I'm looking at it from the point of being free to actually be yourself without conforming to maybe how society has already set up life, like this is how things are done, or this is how people should speak, or this is how people should think and whatnot. And I think there's also different forms of freedom in general. Like there is mental freedom, there is financial freedom, there is emotional freedom, physical freedom, and a lot of aspects of freedom. But I genuinely think that where freedom really starts, even for all the different ranges of freedom, is actually mental freedom. And that's what I want us to talk about today. So what is mental freedom in the first place? When I think about mental freedom, I think about it in the simplest of ways. It is the ability to simply think for yourself. Yeah, I was having a very interesting conversation with a friend recently about the thoughts that we actually have. And we were talking about how important it is to actually question the thoughts that we actually have, because a lot of those thoughts might be imposed on us by society, maybe growing up. There are things that we think are actually our thoughts or our beliefs, but they're not really ours. It's because they were imposed on a society by things like religion. Trauma can also influence how you actually think. It might not actually be originally your thought, but maybe trauma has caused you to think in a certain way and to view life in a certain way. And we were just talking about how there are thoughts that are even inherited, like how we think. Some of them are inherited, some of them are passed down from generation to generation. Others are collected as we grow up in society, where maybe a teacher told you this is how things are done, or this is how you say things, or this is how you think. Things like religion specifically really kind of like impose certain ways of thinking. And we came to a conclusion that it is extremely important to actually question the thoughts that we have, and also the beliefs that we hold, and that we think are our own, so to speak. Like, we think they're ours, but there's a possibility they're not even ours in the first place. There's a possibility that they were passed down. There's a possibility that they were imposed on us by a variety of things as we were growing up. And I've actually been on a journey of being very intentional about, you know, how there are those things that you say, that's how I am, or that's how I do things. I've been very intentional to question some of those things and just be like, I wonder where that comes from. Why do I think like that? Why do I say things like that? And I've come to in some cases, I've come to the root of it and actually discovered, wait a minute, I might have borrowed this from this particular stage in my life, or this particular thing that happened in my life, or this particular thing that someone said. Like, sometimes those thoughts are actually not really yours. And so when we talk about mental freedom being simply thinking for yourself, like having your own thoughts, I think it's very important to also question, so to speak, the thoughts that you have that you think are your own. I hope that makes sense. And actually today I was hanging out with a few of my friends and we had that conversation as well. And we were like, it's so important to actually really question the things that you think are who you are, because they might actually just be thoughts or ideologies that you have picked up that are actually not yours in the first place. I hope that makes sense. In my opinion, I think that one of the ways that you can actually strengthen your mind so that you can be able to get to the root of thoughts that are actually yours and not those that have been imposed on you is by being very intentional about things like movement or general things that actually help to sharpen your brain or to sharpen your mind. I think also reading a lot, exposing yourself to a lot of knowledge, which allows you to see how people see life differently, and also having conversations with people who think differently from you, who view life differently from you. I feel like that's one of the ways that personally I've been able to challenge some of the thoughts that I have, because I've had conversations with people and I'm like, they believe something so different and I'd want to find out why, and then I get to the bottom of it and I'm like, that's very interesting that I've thought about this in this kind of way my whole life. So definitely talking to people, like different people who don't hold the same views that you do, reading a lot of books, exposing yourself to a lot of knowledge, moving around in terms of even traveling, being able to interact with different people, it really opens up your mind. And also things like just movement really strengthens your brain in general and your mind in general to start thinking for yourself and not simply conforming to how you found things being done or how you found life being done, so to speak. So yeah, those are some of the things that personally I have used to be able to challenge some of the thoughts and ways of thinking that I have. And I think mental freedom is basically about, really at the end of it all, authenticity. Like after you've sampled or you've listened to several people, going back into yourself and asking yourself, what do I actually think about this? How do I actually see this from my own personal view and also from my inner self? And actually, I think the most important place that it leads you is just going back into your inner self and actually asking yourself, what do I think about this? How do I feel about this? Do I feel that I should not do this because of ABCD, or do I feel like I'm okay doing this? You know, certain things, yeah? And some of the common mental prisons that personally I have found myself in the past is definitely number one, caring too much about what other people think. Because sometimes I think about it and I'm like, why on earth did I allow myself to stay in that prison for so long? Because now that I have freed myself from caring about what people think about me, I'm just like, this is so much freedom. Like, it allows me to genuinely be authentic and be myself in general. It allows me to express myself. It allows me to be myself. It allows me to be comfortable in my own skin, in my own ways of thinking, in how I choose to act, or how I choose to think, or how I choose to speak or express myself. And yeah, that's a very dangerous prison that I find a lot of people have actually been in or are still in. And I can assure you, like, what other people think about you is literally none of your business, because at the end of the day, no one can really know you. Like, when you think about it, no one can really know you. You're the only one who can really know yourself. And so it doesn't matter if someone has a certain opinion about me. Yeah, whatever, like, they might be right or they might be wrong, but it doesn't genuinely matter, because at the end of the day, we are here to live our own lives. In fact, people who are so consumed by other people's lives are focusing their energy on the wrong thing, because you're supposed to focus your energy on your own life and living your own life and doing your own things. You know, the last thing should be caring about what so and so is doing, why are they doing things the way that they're doing them, and also, like, as an individual, putting yourself in a prison where you care so much about what people think. Because also there's a cousin of mine who actually tells me who's told me before, and I've had her even talk about it in forums, that sometimes we put ourselves in prisons that people are not even there. People don't even care about you, for lack of a better way of putting it. Like, people are concerned about their own lives. And so you might find yourself, you put yourself in a prison where you think people are judging you, or people are seeing you in a certain way because you're doing things in a certain way, but they don't even care. Then they're focusing on their own lives at the end of the day. So definitely that's a prison that I found myself in the past, like, just caring too much about what people think. And I'm so grateful that finally I broke free from that, and now I am free to live my life however I want to. And it actually frees you and empowers you to do so much more, because now you're not concerned about that in any way. Another prison that I found myself in is the prison of fear of failure. Hey, kwanza growing up, I used to have such a really bad anxiety around things like failing exams, and that actually really pushed me to be such a bookworm. And it was so unnecessary, because I don't even think it worked for my good. Yeah, I would get like okay grades, I'd get good grades, but I had to work so damn hard and like being so anxious about like exams and being so afraid of failing. And I personally know where it comes from, and I've been able to deal with that. But at the end of the day, it's a prison that I allowed myself to stay in for far too long. I remember there's a podcast I was actually watching. It was an interview on Diary of a CEO, and the lady that was being interviewed, she's an entrepreneur, and she was saying that she grew up in a very interesting dynamic or home whereby they were actually celebrated for failing by their dad. Like, failure was not frowned upon when she was growing up. And so that's why for her, even right now, like, failure is such a good thing to her. According to her, when she does something and then it fails, it just means that she has an opportunity of trying it in a different way. It means that, you know, there's an opportunity to actually be able to do this better, that in a way that it's going to yield better results and whatnot. And so she has a very good relationship with failure, so to speak, because to her, failure is actually not a bad thing. In fact, failure is a good thing, because it was celebrated, because she was taught that, like, part of trying something is you're going to fail today, tomorrow, but eventually you're going to get whatever result you want to get to. And so that's something that personally I allowed myself to stay in that prison for far too long, like just being afraid of failure. And now after being very intentional about having that mental freedom, I can see how now I think failure is actually a good thing. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, because now how personally I look at it is like, if I try something and I fail, it means that there's a better way of doing it, you know. It means that I get an opportunity to find a better way of doing it. And if I try it like that now and that way it doesn't work, it means that I know 2 ways that if I was to try to do these things, those ways would not work. So it's like, it helps me eliminate, it helps me eliminate things that I know would not work. And in the long run, in my opinion, I feel like failure actually works out together for your good in one way or another. And so definitely that fear of failure is a very dangerous mental prison, so to speak, and even failure of rejection, especially for someone like me who's also very interested in the area of sales, and I've also done sales before. And in fact, I had someone say that selling is actually not a selling job, it's more of like a rejection job. But the reality is, the more rejections you get, the more sales you'll actually make. And so it actually really strengthens you, it makes you more resilient in life. When you break through from that prison and you're just not afraid of rejection anymore, because that's just gonna be part of life. Like, it's not everywhere where you're going to go and then you're accepted. And actually, rejection can just be redirection to the better thing, you know, the better opportunity, the better relationship and whatnot. And so that definitely that's another prison that I found myself in mentally, that I am so grateful to have broken free from and to have gotten freedom in. And the other thing that I remember really struggling with in the past and being in a prison of that guilt of saying no, and I think it really led me to being a people pleaser in the past. And now I know how to say no. I know how to say no, I know how to set boundaries, but I have to admit that one has taken a lot of work, but eventually I've started to get to a place where I'm comfortable to say no. And as my mom likes to say, no is a full sentence. And before, I would really try to over-explain my no. When I started to learn how to say no, I would really over-explain my no and be like, oh, this is the reason why, ABCD, ABCD. But now I'm more comfortable to just say no and not feel the need to explain. And I'm really grateful that that is also a prison that I have broken free from, a mental prison that I have broken free from. And it's a prison that a lot of people find themselves in, especially people who are in like abusive situations. I think that's one of the prisons that really contribute to people choosing such situations or finding themselves in such situations. So it's a very good muscle to exercise, like just saying no and not having to explain your no. The other thing, especially as our firstborn, that I've had to break free from, and it has had to come from a mental space, is the shame around rest. And for the longest time, I feel like I've just always thought that productivity is only, like, I'm only productive when I'm doing. And I'm slowly learning that also rest is very productive. Like, just being able to rest and being able to breathe in, breathe out, and just being able to sit with myself without doing all the time doing. I'm actually focusing more on just being, and sometimes being might require you to really just embrace rest in a lot of ways. And that's definitely a prison that I stayed in for far too long. And now I'm being more comfortable with rest and not feeling guilty when I am resting, not feeling like just because I'm resting I will not be successful because I'm meant to do so that I can be successful, all those things. I also feel like I've also had to break free from the mental prison of shame around pleasure in general. I don't feel like I'd want to get into details in that, but I feel like things like religion played a really huge role in me seeing pleasure as as a bad thing in a way, and it's like almost glorifying pain and suffering. Yeah, let me just put it like that, and not being more open to just enjoying life and enjoying the things that life has to offer, pleasure in general. Yeah, so definitely that's another mental prison that I have had to break free from, and I'd really love to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are some of the mental prisons that you have found yourself in, that you are maybe actively working towards breaking free from, or that you have already broken free from? Okay, let me know in the comment section. I'd like to say that from my own personal experience, I feel like mental freedom has come from a place of me actually doing a lot more unlearning than learning. Like for me, mental freedom has come with just questioning, first of all, questioning a lot of things that I have believed throughout my life, questioning a lot of thoughts that I have about things, about how life is, and in general, yeah, just like really unlearning a lot of things. I feel like for me, mental freedom has come more from unlearning than actually learning. And then now, after doing the unlearning, is like now when I'm relearning new things and just realizing, wow, like how did I ever think like that? How did I think that that is wrong? Like, how did I think, you know, actually I feel like I've gotten to a place where, in my opinion, I no longer see things as right or wrong. I hope that makes sense. As long as it's not harming anyone. In my opinion, wrong now is just things that you might do that might harm another person. That's what I think wrong is. But when it comes to everything else, I no longer subscribe to the ideology of this is right and this is wrong, or this is the right way of doing things, or this is the wrong way of doing things. Because the more I live, the more I realize that what works for me might not work for someone else, and what works for someone else might not work for me. So what I might consider as the quote-unquote right way might be the wrong way for someone else. What I consider the wrong way might be the right way for someone else. You know what I mean? And so I feel like mental freedom has also come with a lot of realization that there's really no right or wrong, in my opinion. Yeah, there's really not right or wrong. As I've said, in my opinion, I feel like quote-unquote wrong is just if you're doing something that is harming someone else. But otherwise, everything else, yeah, you do you, honey. You do you. You do you. Like whatever it is that you are feeling guided from within to do, just do you. Don't think about what does society say about this, or what have I been taught about this. I feel like part of mental freedom is breaking free from all those societal expectations and all those things that we have been taught, especially by things like religion or even trauma, you know, like maybe trauma has taught you that people are a certain way, but they're probably not, you know, that's just the trauma talking. That's not your thoughts. That's not your actual thoughts talking. Yeah, so there's that. I feel like some of the tools that I personally have used to reclaim my thoughts or to reclaim my mind is, for sure, therapy has really helped me. I remember like at the very beginning of my journey of healing, when I made the decision to walk out of a marriage that I did not feel was safe, therapy really helped me. I've had bad experiences with therapy, but I've had good experiences with therapy as well. Things like journaling have really helped me. Things like exercise, moving my body, having conversations with people, as I've said, especially people that I don't hold the same views with, reading a lot of books, like to help me understand certain topics or certain things that I am interested in, especially like when it comes to things like psychology, things like to do with the mind, because those are things that really interest me in general. And yeah, reconnecting with God for sure. And as I've said in previous videos, reconnecting with God for me was actually a really, how do I put this? It was actually a really interesting process, because from within me, I could feel that there was something off about having my relationship in the construct of religion. And sometimes when I say religion, people think about, you know, how people even within like maybe Christianity or Islam, they talk about like religion versus relationship. But when I talk about religion, I actually mean like the groups of religion like Christianity, Islam, you know, Hinduism and all those things. And I feel personally there's something I felt was off about my relationship with God being within the constructs of denominations or like religion, as like, for example, Christianity, which is the religion I have grown up in, and reconnecting with God outside of like the church, outside of something like Christianity, has really helped me to also get a lot of mental freedom, in my opinion. Because I feel like I've just been able to see things and see life in such a different way from how I was seeing it when I was within the construct of religion. Yeah, so definitely also just reconnecting with God has really helped me to also like gain that mental freedom, and just be able to listen to that inner voice and not really listen to outside like what people are saying about God, like really listen from within, or what people are saying about life, or what people are saying about pleasure. And also a lot of self-care, so to speak, when it comes to learning how to love myself, how to take care of myself, how to reinforce boundaries, how to say no. Those things have also really helped me to gain a lot of like mental freedom, because it has also helped to strengthen my mind in general. Yeah, so definitely self-care in form of like all those things, being intentional about the kind of people that I'm surrounding myself with, being very intentional about cutting off people that I feel not healthy, or I do not feel safe around, or my mind does not feel safe around, for sure. And just being intentional about building really strong relationships and building strong connections with the people that I have in my life has also helped me to strengthen my mind and also get that like mental freedom. Yes, that's also another. Some of the results of mental freedom, even from my own personal journey, is number one, like for me, I have been experiencing such a newfound peace. Like, hey, the peace that the Bible talks about, peace that surpasses all human understanding. Like just being so free mentally and not being by certain ways of thinking. Like, you know, you are this when you are this. You know, there are so many constructs in like just the world in general, in terms of like how you're viewed as successful because of A, B, C, D, and just breaking free from all those mental things, all those mental prisons. I feel like for me, I've just gained such a new level of peace that I cannot even fully explain, and just having so much clarity and having so much alignment in my life. I've had freedom to say no without guilt. I've had freedom to take up space without feeling the need to shrink myself anymore. I've had freedom to believe differently and not feel bad about it, and not feel like, oh my God, like, is there something wrong with me because I hold different beliefs from what the collective, like most people actually believe in. Like that freedom actually allows you to also redefine success for yourself, because success is not the same for every single person. One person might view success in one way that another person does not view success as, and then another person might view it in a totally different way, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what freedom does. It completely frees you from how do I say, like ideals in life, ideals, like this is how, when you reach a certain age, this is what is supposed to have happened, or when you reach a certain level in your life or a certain level in your career, ABCD is meant to happen, like you're completely free from those things. You're completely free to really live your life how you want to. You're completely free to think how you want to. You are completely free to speak how you want to, as long as, again, you're not hurting anyone. You're completely free to actually act as you please, as long as you're not hurting anyone. And there's something so freeing about that, guys. There's something so freeing about that. Everything change when your mind is yours again, like when your mind is finally yours again. And I feel like I'd really want to say that I am really grateful. I'm grateful for the kind of family that I also have, because I feel like there are people who also find it to be a bit harder to come out of certain mental prisons because of the people around them, especially when it comes to family. Because I feel like my mom really empowers us to just like think for ourselves and figure out things by ourselves. Like my brother and my sister are not like judgmental people. Like whatever you want to do you, like, and it's from a genuine place, because they know you from the inside. They know who you really are, and so they're not looking at you from the outside in, they're looking at you from the inside out. Like they're not looking at you because you're doing this, or because you're speaking like this, or because you're acting in such a way, then you're this kind of a person. No, they're looking at me from the point of, I know the kind of person you are from the inside, and so whatever it is that I am seeing you do, say, think, I believe and I trust that it is right for you, because I know the kind of person you are from the inside. I hope that makes sense. So I think also the kind of environment that you're in can also either help you in that journey or put you at a disadvantage. But I usually, you don't have to be around people who are slowing your growth just because that they are your blood. And if you have to be around them, you can detach yourself from really caring about what they think about you or what they say about you, and you just live your life. Yeah, you live your life, honey. Live your life. And as I end this video, I'd want to challenge you to ask yourself, where are you still living by someone else's script? Where are you still living by someone else's script? If no one was to judge you, what would you believe? What beliefs would you hold? What thoughts would you have? How would you approach life? How would you live life? How would you act? How would you speak? How would you think? Yeah? Because I think that's where mental freedom starts. Mental freedom is where every kind of freedom starts. That's what I believe. Mental freedom is where every kind of freedom starts. And you don't need anyone's permission to start. You just need courage, okay? You just need courage to begin that journey within, to look within and decide, this is how I want to live my life. These are some of the beliefs that I no longer think serve me because of ABCD, because you've actually questioned them. Yeah? And yeah, that's the video for today. And I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Like, what are some of the things that you think about when it comes to freedom? And also that question that I asked at the beginning of the video, what does freedom mean to you? What is freedom to you? Yeah. And until the next video, bye.